sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS.
One of the things that I love about sales is that it demands constant personal improvement. I don't know if there are other careers out there that do the same thing, but it demands sales demands constant personal improvement. Because if you don't, either you fail, but you die, right? Or you stay stagnant, which to me is just about the same thing. The world is moving all the time and demanding more from us. And what I love about sales is it's probably the most human thing we could possibly do, or in the top 5 most human things we could possibly do. And so we got to be better humans to be better at sales. And I mean that in all kinds of ways. It means we have to be physically fit. We have to be mentally fit. We've got to be spiritually strong, because it's hard as shit. Sales is hard. No doubt about it. And I have some people that ask me, when's this going to get easier? And I'll tell you, don't ask for it to get easier, because it won't. Just work on getting better at it. That's what you need to ask for and pray for, is pray to get better at it. Because you'll still get your ass kicked every now and then. You're not going to get every deal. One of the things that I deal with a lot, I do personally, and a lot of my clients do too, and especially now that we're through the pandemic, but is anxiety. And anxiety has been a thing long before the pandemic in our sales business. And it's something I deal with regularly. But it's something I've learned to manage and control. And I thought I would name a couple of things that people in sales have anxiety around, a lot of anxiety around. And what are some things you can do to, get around that, fix that, help you with that? Feels like there are 3 kind of major things of anxiety, 3 major parts to anxiety in sales, and there are probably 50, but let's just start with 3. The first is the fear of failure. The second might be the fear of rejection. And the third would be the fear of confrontation, right? Failure, rejection, and confrontation. The 3 horsemen of the apocalypse, right? So let's talk about each one of those 3, and maybe what are some attitudes you can have? What are some things you can do to begin to counter those, to make us better human beings, which by definition should make us better at sales? We talk about a fear of failure. What does that mean? What does that mean to you, a fear of failure? For a lot of people, it means that I don't get the sale, that I don't make the sale, that this is going to end up as a no. Here's what I want you to switch your mindset to. Don't look at winning, or the opposite of failure. I guess that's winning. Don't look at that as getting a yes. Yeses are good, right? But you don't even control, at most, you control 50% of that. Remember, our job is never to convince people. We can't convince people of anything unless you got a gun or you can starve them or something, but you can't. Not in stay out of jail. All you control is 50% at most of a sales conversation. Let's redefine what winning is. Let's redefine what failure is. Let's redefine it in a way that we can control it. Here's what I want you to think about. Think about winning as getting a decision, yes or no, to something. If you get a no in the first sales call, when it would have been a no in the 6th sales call, that's a win in my book. However, if you get let me go back and talk to my team, or let me think about it, or why don't you call me back in a couple of weeks, give me some time to sleep on this. And you say, okay, is it okay if I call you back? And dude, that's a freaking lose. Call those things that aren't a yes or a no, call them no's. Listen, it sounds to me like this isn't the right thing. I appreciate that you want to go think about it. My guess is at this point, this is a no. You got to remember, though, you need to set that up at the beginning of the call. Let's figure out whether or not we should do X. Here's what yes looks like. Anything less than yes, let's call it a no. Is that okay with you? That's a shortened version of an opening agreement. If you want to learn more about that, let's have a conversation. But let people know what it is we're trying to decide today and what yes looks like. Get them to agree. We'll come to some agreement of what yes might look like. And anything less than that, let's call it a no. It's straightforward. It's being human. It's being direct. And if you get a no, great. You win. If you get a yes, great. You win. If you take call me in a week. Let me check with my team about this. And you say, okay, there's your loss. Right? Don't be anxious. You can't control what your prospect does. All you can control is what you do. Keep that in mind. Redefine your win. Number 2 is a fear of rejection, which in essence is, what if they don't like me? I want them to like me. And what if they reject me as a person? Here's what I want you to think about there. Sales is never about you. It's never about you. It's always about the prospect. If you're making it about you in any way, even if you walk in with your personal pride on the line and you're afraid, what if they don't like me? If they don't like me, this is bad. Recognize it's not personal. This is not about you. This is about them. Some will buy, some won't. So what? Who's next? Your job is to go in and figure out, do they have a problem? Do they have a problem first? And does that problem have do they have a personal compelling reason why they have to solve that problem? If they don't, good for them. Good for you. Don't go into sales to make friends. Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. My guess is you've already got enough friends. Rejection doesn't matter if you're not worried about them liking you or not. Some people talk about, they buy from people they like, know, and trust. I think that's bullshit. I know plenty of people that I like. Maybe I would trust in some areas, to help me find a deer or something, or help me get home if I had too much to drink, or help me with some problem I had. But there's some people I know that there's no way in hell I would call them to help me in what their profession is. I wouldn't trust them to do that. Do you have any friends that maybe you love them, but they're not the kind of guys you would call or gals you would call if you had a problem in their line of business? Maybe that's just me. If you need more friends, get a dog, as Jack Welch said. Fear of rejection, got to work on that. It doesn't matter. It's not about collecting friends. And when you call on friends, be clear. Hey, listen, I know we're friends. Last thing we're all going to do is screw that up. Are you okay if we just figure out whether or not you want to do something? If you do, great, we'll do it. If you don't, no big deal. You won't hurt my feelings. I won't try and change your mind. We'll still be friends. People are like, it's so funny. They say, don't sell to friends because that's the worst thing you could do. And then they go out and try to make fucking friends with people. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? Because they don't have to sell anymore. We just want to be friends. Bullshit. Go out and have real conversations with people. If it's a no, it's a no. So what? They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the idea. They're rejecting working with you for now. It's not personal. It's business. The last one is a fear of confrontation. This is huge. Fear of confrontation. What if they what if things go bad? What if they challenge me? What if they get mad? I had this situation happen about, a long time ago, 15, 18, 20 years ago. I was an arrogant little prick. I went on a sales call and I acted like an arrogant jerk. It was ridiculous. And I'm embarrassed about it. Instead of using these tools that I have to be more human, I use them to be a prick. And I pissed off this guy. And I understand why. And he basically stood me up and he pulled his arm back. He pushed his chest out, pulled his arm back like he was going to punch me in the face. And at first I thought, holy shit, I've really done bad. I done bad. And he started to back me out the door. I was backing up. He was moving forward. And what I thought about, and this is like the worst case scenario, right? Somebody's going to punch you. I mean, what ultimately confrontation is, right? A fight. I'm not much of a fighter. But as I thought about it, I thought, if he punches me, this building that he owns, This shit'll be mine. I will sue his ass. So all of a sudden I wasn't afraid of confrontation, but also realized I shouldn't be a prick anymore. Just know if somebody actually does punch you in some way, you'll own everything they have. So don't worry about that anymore. The next thing is we're worried they might have objections that we can't handle. What if they come back and say it's too expensive? What if they tell us that, we're a small company and they're a big company, or we're a big company and they're a small company, or whatever? Think about it. There are probably only 4 or 5, probably only 4 objections you really get if you think about it. Price is too high, don't have what we need, this doesn't, whatever. If you really think about it, probably only 4 objections you really get. Come up with the responses to those. Come up with an idea. If they say it's too expensive, I want to teach my clients, if somebody says it's too expensive, you say, okay, makes sense. When you say that, what do you mean? Somebody says, we never leave our competitor. We never leave our, what do you have that's better than what we have? My answer is probably nothing. What were you hoping we could do better? Think of the objections you're getting. Think of how you can respond. Have those things down. All of a sudden, your fear goes away, or should go away, some. And then when you see that works and you stay in control by asking questions instead of getting defensive, it's much easier. You're in control. When you're asking questions, you're in control. When you're answering questions, you are not in control. Remember, we're supposed to talk 30% of the time. They talk 70% of the time. Most of our anxiety is, what are we going to say? What are we going to say? Come up with what you're going to say ahead of time. How are you going to respond to those objections? Ask questions. Realize that if they're not saying hell yes, it's probably a hell no. It's okay. The faster you get through the no's, the better. In a more general anxiety sense, there are 3 or 4 things I know that people do to help work with their general anxiety. One of them is they meditate. And there are a million blogs and stories and podcasts and books about how to meditate. And I've tried that. And when I do it over a longer period of time, it works. I can't do that consistently. But a lot of people, that's their number one way. And I'm all for it if it works for you. The second thing is they journal. They write down their thoughts every day. Just have their thoughts poured out of their mind onto a piece of paper. And they do it with a pen and pad, not just your computer, because there's something magical that happens with your hand as it writes the notes out on the computer. Writes out on the pad. And they do that every single day. And what happens if you go back and look is you realize that most of the things you're afraid of, most of the things that were bothering you or worrying you on your worst day never happened. They're not that bad. And it helps us realize we have ups and downs, and that's just normal. We're just humans. When we're not closing anything, we're not nearly as shitty as we think we are. And when we are closing everything, we're not nearly as great as we think we are. We can always get better. We learn more from the losses than from the wins. Here's what I do that helps me with anxiety. I recommend to people that are prone to this. I've learned to go to the gym and I lift weights, which is weird because I never lifted weights before. I started about 2 years ago with my son, and we started lifting weights. And I find it's instant gratification for me. It's hard effort, and it makes me feel so much better, more confident. I am getting leaner, I'm getting stronger, and that makes me confident. And when I go into a sales call, I look more confident. And it's a great way to dispel nervous energy, which I have oodles of. But when I finish, I feel better, I feel calm and relaxed and ready to take on the next challenge, which the next day, if I go to the gym and lift weights, is another challenge. And I can get through that. And I tell myself I'm going to do 3 reps, and then I push for 4 to make it hard. Same thing in sales. How do you push back? Be a little bit tougher next time. I'm Walker McKay. Anxiety's real. Anxiety happens to everybody, some of us worse than others. Do what you have to do. Oh, by the way, medication works really well too. I do that, but I also do other things too. If you need medication, if you think you need to talk to your doctor about anxiety medication, I highly recommend it. Some of us need that just to get the point we can begin to help ourselves. I'm Walker McKay. No BS Sales. If you want help with some of that stuff, give me a call, 803-917-2817. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the OBS Sales School podcast.